The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, activates popular and security intelligence to face any right-wing extremist attempt of sabotage and destabilization before the May 25th elections. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, held on Monday a phone call conversation with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, to address a potential Ukraine ceasefire. And in Palestine, the Israeli army issued new forced displacement orders for residents of Khan Younis as it continues with its intensified offensive across Gaza. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, activates popular and security intelligence to face any right-wing extremist attempt of sabotage and destabilization before the May 25th elections. The head of state led the working meeting with the representatives of the security agencies and the military high command linked to the 7 Transformations Plan. The encounter served to review the agenda that will guarantee patrolling, reacting immediately, among other activities in view of the upcoming elections on Sunday. The Venezuelan leader stressed the importance of the civil-military union to ensure peace and called to vote for stability as an example of sovereignty.
The actions are in full development. The plans are perverse. We have experience to neutralize them. We have a vast experience, and we are neutralizing them. They have not stopped in their attempts to attack the power system, and we have to very quickly reinforce all the plans of protection of the power plants, from the communities to all the great generators, the first lines. Protection of the power system. Remember that on July 28th, days before, we suffered an attack that was going to create a whole blackout in Venezuela, and on July 28th we suffered an attack that wanted to leave Venezuela completely blackout. So we have to pay attention to this.
The Venezuelan head of state also called for voting imperfect civic, military and police union to confront those who seek to incite violence and destabilize the country.
Perfect popular, military, and police fusion. And in the face of those who want violence, sabotage, explosions and bullets, I say yes to voting, no to garimbas, yes to voting, no to violence, yes to voting, no to bullets. Vote, vote, and vote next Sunday.
On Monday, the government of Venezuela unveiled the plans by the extreme right-wing opposition to sabotage the upcoming regional and legislative elections of May 25th. In a press conference offered by the Venezuelan Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, warned of the existing plans to destabilize the nation, instigated by far-right leader Maria Corina Machado. In this regard, Cabello revealed the plan entailed attacks on embassies and health centers, as well as the sabotage of electrical facilities in addition to actions against government leaders. Precisely, the authority revealed that 38 terrorists have been captured with explosives, among them 17 foreigners. Furthermore, Cabello denounced the complicity in the plans of former Colombian Presidents Iván Duque, Álvaro Uribe, Andrés Pastrana and Juan Manuel Santos, whom he condemned as heads of Colombian drug trafficking.
Some groups intent on causing violence have tried to carry out actions that would affect all Venezuelans, regardless of their political views, with the ultimate aim of sabotaging the elections on Sunday, May 25.
The Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, revealed that security forces had arrested a group of individuals in possession of explosive devices which they intended to use to incite violence in the country.
de venezolanos
We have detained a group of Venezuelans who returned to the country carrying explosive devices known as electric detonators.
que llaman los detonantes eléctricos. Eso lo podemos señalar
We can show them to you.
si lo tenemos.
We took 8 of these detonators from 2 individuals who entered the country with explosive devices.
Ahí hay 8 que le quitamos a dos.
In his meeting with security and defense agencies, President Nicolás Maduro ratified the arrest of a group of mercenaries linked to the Ecuadorian Albanian mafia that would have links with Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa.
They would say that, in view of the threats that Comrade Cabello has denounced, there are already 38 new mercenaries detained. The Albanian mafia that governs Ecuador sent part of its trained mercenaries to place bombs in Venezuela. They have been captured. The Albanian mafia, as it has been denounced, we have them. 3 telephones have been captured, and all 3 are speaking.
The National Assembly of Venezuela approved in second discussion the draft organic law of the National Development Plan of the 7 Transformations 2025-2031. This draft organic law of the National Development Plan was presented by the President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, last January 15th. The bill seeks to establish the strategic guidelines for the development of the country in the coming years and has been analyzed in the corresponding instances. It should be noted that this law will be referred to the Constitutional Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice so that it may pronounce on the constitutionality of its organic nature in accordance with the provisions of Article 203 of the Constitution.
Las honorables diputadas y los honorables diputados que estén a favor de aprobar.
The honorable deputies who are in favor of approving the second provision of the draft organic law of the National Development Plan of the 7 Transformations 2025-2031, please indicate it with the customary sign, approving it with a qualified majority. In view of the fact that since it is an organic law it requires 2/3 of the votes, as established in the internal regulations, and requires a debate of the Constitution to approve this legal instrument. In view that it is certified since it was approved by more than 2/3 of the deputies of the National Assembly, the organic law of the National Development Plan of the 7 Transformations 2025-2031 is hereby declared approved.
For his part, the President of the Venezuelan National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, emphasized that the people will defend the country's democracy against the attempts of the extreme right wing to carry out a coup d'etat.
Yes, we saw the denunciation made by the Minister of People's Power for Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, and they will not be able to defeat the unstoppable force of the people of Venezuela, who love democracy, who love justice, who love peace, and who will participate next Sunday, May 25th, electing the 24 governors and state governors, and also electing the 285 deputies to the National Assembly, which are already being dismantled by the state's security forces. They are going to collide with the immense capacity of this people to defend their democracy.
In other news, Mexico is grieving 2 cadets in the country's Navy that were killed on Saturday when the tall training ship Cuauhtémoc crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. America Sanchez, 20, and Adal Jair Maldonado Marcos, 23, died in the wreck that injured 22 other crew members, including 3 critically. Officials said that 2 of the critically injured remain hospitalized as of Monday afternoon. An investigation into Saturday's crash remains ongoing. The Secretary of the Navy for Mexico and for the United States, the National Transportation Agency, and the support of the United States Coast Guard has been requested to determine the causes of the incident. On the other hand, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum thanked the Mayor of New York, Eric Adams, for his support to the crew and called for the results of the investigation and offered her condolences to the families of the victims.
Antes de iniciar lo hice ese mismo día.
Our condolences and solidarity to the families of the 2 young people who lost their lives on the incident with the Cuauhtémoc Navy training ship. If you wish, we will touch a little more on this subject in the questions.
Escuela Cuauhtémoc.
But our solidarity, as always,
pero nuestra solidaridad siempre con
with the sailors and the Mexican Navy.
And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, held on Monday a phone call conversation with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, to address a potential Ukraine ceasefire. The call happens after the last round of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine that took place in Istanbul, Turkey, last week. The U.S. President affirmed that the tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent. For his part, the Russian head of state thanked Trump for supporting the resumption of direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv and said that Trump noted Russia's support for peace. In this context, the Russian president said that his country is ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum about future peace accord and highlighted efforts are on the right track.
That Russia also wants a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine crisis. We need to do is to find the most effective ways to achieving peace. The President of the United States and I agreed that Russia can and is ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum on the possible eventual future peace treaty by addressing a number of provisions, including we need to set forth the principles and the deadlines for achieving a peace deal, and this includes the possible cessation of hostilities for a specific period of time if we reach specific agreements. By the way, contacts between the participants in the Istanbul talks, they resumed, so this gives us hope that overall we're headed in the right direction.
Furthermore, in this context, the Russian president assured his nation's key objective is to address the root causes of the crisis in Ukraine.
I think that both Russia and Ukraine must do everything to contribute to peace, and they must find the compromises that would suit all the parties involved. I would like to say that overall, Russia's position is clear. Our key objective is to identify the root causes of this crisis.
For his part, U.S. President Donald Trump took to social media to share his impressions on the call, highlighting the excellent tone and spirit of the conversation. Through a post on his Truth Social account, Trump stated, "Just completed my 2-hour call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. I believe it went very well. Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire and, more importantly, an end to the war. The conditions for that will be negotiated between the two parties, as it can only be, because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of. The tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent." From Monday, the city of St. Petersburg in Russia hosted the International Legal Forum, bringing together over 5,000 participants from around 90 countries. The forum, which will conclude on Wednesday, will be attended by ministers of justice, attorneys general, presidents of Supreme and Constitutional Courts, lawyers, academics, and global experts. The agenda will focus on Western abuses and arbitrariness, the application of international law, and the policy of the International Criminal Court, as well as other issues. In a message to participants, President Vladimir Putin emphasized the strengths of the Russian legal system. He also urged cooperation based on the principles of sovereign equality of states and respect for peoples. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, the Israeli army issued new forced displacement orders for residents of Khan Younis as it continues with its intensified offensive across Gaza. The displacement mandate told residents living in the southern Gaza region to evacuate immediately ahead of an unprecedented attack. The command, which also applies to the nearby areas of Bani Suhaila and Abasan, called on civilians to move west towards Al-Mawasi. Controversially, according to medical reports, the Zionist regime struck a makeshift tent in said zone early Monday morning, killing 2 civilians. The latest order comes after Tel Aviv issued a similar warning for central Gaza on Sunday, as Israel expands its ground offensive to target densely populated areas, shattering any sense of safety for Palestinians. The World Health Organization opened on Monday its annual meeting of government ministers and top envoys. In this context, Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned of the millions of people starving in Gaza as a consequence of the Israeli blockade.
2 million people are starving, while 116,000 tons of food is blocked at the border just minutes away in Al-Arsh. The risk of famine in Gaza is increasing with the deliberate withholding of humanitarian aid, including food, in the ongoing blockade.
The Israeli Security Cabinet approved a new plan to build a separation wall along the eastern border with Jordan. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that the plan includes strengthening the occupation's control through the establishment of settlements and training camps. The defense minister also said that the plan foresees strengthening the Israeli presence in the Jordan Valley, which is part of the West Bank, through the establishment of national mission centers, including military academies and national service structures. Katz stressed the need for the plan to be implemented quickly with advanced radars, mobile military units, and command infrastructure. Hundreds of French cab drivers mobilized on Monday to protest against changes in sanitary transport fares. The cab strike is a response to the new pricing system proposed by the Caisse Nationale d'Assurance Maladie for the transport of patients. Cab drivers are mobilizing in Paris and in the Ile-de-France region as part of the so-called snail operation on the A6 and A13 freeways, causing major traffic jams, especially in the Yvelines region. The central protest is taking place on Boulevard Raspail in the 7th arrondissement of Paris, where cab drivers have gathered since the morning and plan to go to the Ministry of Transport. Similar mobilizations are also taking place in other major French cities such as Lyon, Marseille and Pau. The National Taxi Federation is seeking a high-level dialogue with the government through an interministerial meeting to address the future of their profession. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.